In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, the Métis Nation, Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. For those in the Edmonton area, we acknowledge the traditional lands of the Treaty 6 territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, as well as the Métis. These sacred gathering places provide us with an opportunity to engage in and demonstrate leadership on reconciliation. Thank you for your enthusiasm and commitment to joining Rainforest Alberta in doing so. I'm going to pass it on to our wonderful co-host, Gail, to tell us a little bit more about Rainforest.
Thank you, Amber, and everyone for joining us today and for being part of the Rainforest community. As you know, it's very inclusive community of innovators, doers, dreamers, connectors, and builders. And of course, Rainforest website. And we have this clip that will give you a nice standard overview. Please, Amber.
So I just have to reshare my screen because I did not press share sound when I shared my screen. Sorry about that, everyone.
No problem.
Oh no.
You got a lot of things going on there.
Oh, tabs. I tell you.
Love it.
Do you think she has a lot going on? You should see my computer screens on the average day.
It's very cool. Actually, Ross was sharing some Zoom tips earlier for our exciting speaker today. So more to come.
All right, here we go. Sorry about the technical difficulties, everyone.
What does it take to realize an idea or for a seed to sprout? At Rainforest Alberta, we know the answer is rooted in trust. Traditionally, Albertans have cultivated their ideas in established systems. Inputs that don't fit these systems are weeded out. Opportunities for growth are missed. But now, Albertans want a dynamic landscape that can evolve organically, like a rainforest. At Rainforest Alberta, we believe a culture of trust is the fertile soil where ideas grow. Our budding innovation ecosystem is a network of relationships pulling each other up as they push forward in their own field. Trust breaks down barriers. An open, inclusive network increases collaborative innovation. Successful breakthroughs inspire new ideas. A cycle begins. Rainforest Alberta is a movement to amplify trust by cultivating honesty, inclusion, and accountability. How? Our social contract holds us accountable to demonstrate trust across the province. We meet to have honest conversations around collaboration. This leads to more inclusive spaces for everyone to fearlessly build new ideas together. By raising the standard of trust, Alberta's ideas, talent, and resources can be evergreen. Visit rainforestab.ca to sign the social contract and start growing together.
Excellent. Thank you, Amber. Again, part of our overview is that we use 6 pillars to guide our conversations and actions, and not all are weighted equally. Like any ecosystem, the right balance is crucial, and these are measured each year through our scorecard assessments, measuring culture, leaders, resources, engaged activities, policy and infrastructure, and role models. With that, we build community through a Lunch Without Lunch and Connector and other events, as well as invite everyone in the community to share what events you are aware of that can be of value to everyone. And tips to making the most with the Lunch Without Lunch session is please do introduce yourself in the chat. I see there's the poll just popped up. Thank you, Amber. Connect with individuals through direct messaging. Put your camera on so we all get to know you. It's wonderful to see regulars. It gives the host a lot of enthusiasm, as well as this is community. This is how we build community. Feel free to ask questions. Keep connecting on Rainforest Slack workspace. It's lunchtime. And check out the hashtag lunch notes for a capture of today's chat, and recordings are posted on YouTube. Next, I think that's the last. All right, so with those intros aside, I will turn it over to Amber to introduce our speaker today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gail. And yeah, like Gail said, introduce yourself in the chat. We want to get to know everyone, and especially if you're new, So I'm very excited to introduce Erin today. So a little bit about Spence Corrosion Services is a Canadian company that specializes in on-site blasting and relining of storage tanks and pressure vessels exposed to corrosive or abrasive environments. They have served the oil and gas industry for over a decade and are familiar with the dangers present in their field. Even with all the administrative controls set in place and the PPE used, incidents have occurred during the abrasive blasting process. Norm Spence's vision was to keep humans safe and out of harm's way during the rehabilitation of tanks and vessels. Confined Space Robotics was created to serve the industry need to eliminate or reduce humans working in dangerous confined space environments. So I'm going to pass it over to Erin, who's going to share a wonderful virtual tour and share her story. So I'm very excited to pass it over to you.
Thanks, Amber. Hi, everybody. So I have a video I pre-recorded of our tour, which I'm glad we did before the mask mandate came in. So I guess that was a positive, because the head office is in Leduc, Alberta, and I'm based out of Calgary, but I do go back and forth between Leduc and Calgary. And a little bit of context before we go right into the video. So as Amber mentioned, so Spence Corrosion is, or it was actually established in 2010. So it's been around for over 10 years, and it does the tanks and vessels. And then Norm Spence had decided we needed to do better. We needed to find a way to keep people safe. And so he then created a separate company called Confined Space Robotics, but he is the owner of both and they're at the same facility. But how it works is Confined Space Robotics, or CSR, will supply the robots to Spence Corrosion to do the work. So they're two independent companies, but they work together. And so I was going to show just a couple of slides just to kind of give you a little bit of context, and then we'll get into the tour video, and then we'll have some, if anyone has any questions after, I would be happy to answer them. So let's see if I can get this to work. We did a little practice. All right, so can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So to show some context, so there's kind of the before and after. So what currently is done in industry. Oh, and by the way, Spence Corrosion is not just in oil and gas, it's really any tank or vessel that would be exposed to a corrosive or abrasive environment. So even agriculture, tanks that hold chemicals, the pulp and paper, in mining, and we're even working with the shipping industry and looking at submarines and ships. And so it's really in all industries, which is really exciting that all industries have these confined spaces. And so how it really currently works, there's really nobody in the industry in the world globally that is kind of combating this confined space problem. The robotic arm isn't anything new. They've been using them in manufacturing, but the confined space adds so many complexities. You've got these tiny 18-inch or 24-inch manholes. So you got to shove everything in there. You need to set it up. The robot needs to fit in these small spaces. So if you see on the screen, traditionally, people are in these spaces. And when you're doing sandblasting, it is, sand is coming out of these pressure holds or any abrasive material that we're using. We say sandblasting, but it can be abrasive blasting. And it's a very dangerous environment. You can't really see, there's stuff flying everywhere. I'm even amazed that they can, get these walls in the conditions that they can, because essentially you want to clean and clear away whatever grime and gunk has gathered up on these tank walls, get them nice and clean so then you can recoat however you're whatever process you're looking at doing, which Spence also specializes in doing a rubber coating. So not just a paint coat, but a full-on rubber process, which is its own big thing, which you'll see in the video, the steps involved from applying the rubber. So that's really cool. So there's just so many cool things going on here. But to go back to the robots, so the kind of before and after is then to have these robots go in and do these dangerous jobs. And let's go to the next slide. So as you can kind of see here, the person is taking the hose to to blast the media, and now it would be a robot instead. And there's a process here, which we'll get into in the video. It might not be so clear, but really the robot needs to scan the tank first just to see, is there any bars, I-beams, is there plates, is there things inside these tanks that obstructions, and what does that look like? So obviously we need a map of the inside of the tank. So once we've done that scan, we can put it into the software. The software will then make a plan. And so then when you put the robot in, the robot does another scan, but that scan is just to make sure it's placed in the right spot in the tank to say, okay, where am I in the tank? Now that I have the map of the tank, I need to know where I'm standing in the tank. So there's kind of two scans that happen before the job is, or before the blasting commences. And then the plan happens, the robot will calculate what it needs, and then you do your sandblasting. So it's all, the robot can, works with the data that we give it, but then it also checks it itself, creates its plan, and then does the blast. And so that's showing, you'll see these images in the video, that the scanning here is essentially where it's getting the measurements, essentially the measurements of the tank, and then the planning would then be, okay, now how am I going to actually now blast? So it makes it calculates the plan, and then it will blast. So I believe that was all I wanted to show you for that. So now let's get to the video. And the sound might be a little off, and just as a warning, right at the very end, it is kind of loud. So I hope it doesn't hurt everybody's ears. So here we go.
Hi everyone, Erin Moffatt here. We are in Leduc, Alberta at Spence Corrosion. We're at the main office here, and Jenny is the first friendly face you see when you come in, and she is our safety and quality administrator and the person of many hats who helps out around the office.
I try. Hi.
Now we're going to go into where all the fun stuff happens, where we do all of the rubberizing. So come on in this way. So here is the facility for our rubber. So I'm going to take you to where the pipe and material first comes in. So if you follow me, you'll go all the way around. So at this bay is where we will get the delivery of all of our equipment and pieces that we'll do in-house. So they come in here, but first they are treated and heated to remove the rubber and any of the existing materials that we need to remove. And then once we have the raw materials back here, we then take it and put it into the sandblasting bay, which right now is closed, but that's where they will sandblast to put the material back to white metal, or a condition where we can then add the new, better rubber. So this is step one. We'll come over here. Sandblasting, and then once that's done, as you can see here, these ones have already been sandblasted, and there's been some prep and things that have happened. But we leave the materials here and to be ready to put the rubber on. And over here, this is a heated warm table that we use to prep the rubber and heat it up before we then apply it. And this is where we do all the cutting and preparing of the rubber. And once this is now ready, we then take it back and we apply it back onto the equipment and the pieces. And as you can see here, this is one where there's already been rubber applied onto this part. And here is some that's ready to be folded over. So the final step in the process is to cure the rubber, and we take it over here, we put it onto this ramp, and we slide it into the autoclave so that the rubber can be cured. So once it's come out of the autoclave and it's complete, we then do a holiday test or a spark test, where we just make sure that the rubber has sealed to all the surfaces and there is no metal. Once the equipment has passed that test, it's ready to go, and we send it out the door. And that was the end of the rubber process. So now we're over at the Confined Space Robotics headquarters. So this is our lab. This is where all the magic happens with our robots. So before we get to the star of the show, let's just do a little tour of the area. And over here is Makai, and he's a robotics technician, and he's going to be filling you in on some of the things that we're doing here. So first, let's come to the back. So in here is where we have our 3D printing. And so if we come on in.
So here's where we're designing, prototyping, and test fitting parts. We'll design the part on the computer, we'll send it over for printing. After it's printed, we'll test it, see if it fits, see if it holds up to the stresses, and then we'll send it off for fabrication. We printed PLA, we printed carbon fiber, we printed nylons and other plastics depending on the need. Right there is a TPU print. So that's wheel sleeves for magnets, for magnetic wheels. We have a Fusion 3 and then 2 Enders printing. These are printing smaller stuff. Any larger prints or stronger materials we have to print on this printer. This printer is more for prototyping. This one will be if we need any carbon fiber parts on our robots.
Perfect. Well, now let's head on over to the robot in action. Normally we would actually have the robot set up inside a tank or a confined space. But right now we've set it up in the lab so that you can kind of see the movements and see how it's working. So right now it is in a blast mode, so it is doing a sandblast pattern right now, and doing the base of a tank is essentially what we're modeling right now. So this is the abrasive blasting robot, which we call Alpha 1, and we're going to come over to the control panel to see how we operate this robot.
This control terminal is fairly user-friendly, being a touchscreen display, and it also has lots of visual cues and instructions on it. So as long as you're reading the screen, it's fairly straightforward. Now when you start the blast, it's going to give you a warning to make sure that nobody's in the vessel and everything, all your safety measures are in place. And if they are in place, then it will allow you to continue on to the blast. You can see the enclosure must be evacuated while the system is moving autonomously, so it's getting into position. And you can see the different colors are the different panels, so that would be a different blast. You can see right now this stream and that all those lines are the pattern it will follow. It's been divvied up to accommodate the tank's geometry. You can see the I-beam is this thing in red right there. That is the I-beam, so it's blasting on the other side of the I-beam currently. And then it will eventually move up onto the wall. So here we're with the Alpha 1 doing an abrasive blast on a tank. Right now it's doing the wall, so it's doing a vertical motion. And some of the components of the Alpha 1 consist of, we got the blast nozzle here, we have a sensor head for scanning and localization along with calibration. Here we have the manipulator, and then we also have the power supply there, or the safety control unit is like we like to call it. Then over here is our operator control terminal. So this is where I'm controlling it from. We got our E-stop, our dead man switch here. And then we have the blast hose, which runs back to the blast pot and supplies the blast media.
So exciting news! Spence Corrosion hydro transport lines, slurry lines, and it's going to give us more space to be able to expand our business. So this is where we're going to be going forward.
All right, well, that was the end of the tour. I kind of was just going to leave it open now if anybody had any questions. I know there was a lot there and probably maybe more questions about what we actually do. And I guess as a one final thing, so the sandblasting or the abrasive blasting that happens at the beginning, that happens to clean the equipment then for the coating process. So whether you do it by manpower or by robotic arm, you then once that piece of equipment has been essentially cleaned and the surface is clear, you can then put the recoating on. And we actually are in the process of developing a coating arm as well. So we've got the robotic arm to do the sandblasting, and we're also in developments to do a coating arm to actually do the corrosion coating. And as well, we also have some robots for inspection and scanning. So we have a few robots coming down the pipe, but currently our sandblasting robot is essentially ready for commercial. We're in the final stages to get it out there, and we've probably done about 30 to 50 on-site tests where we've successfully been able to sandblast a tank on site. So it's very exciting. We're at the very beginning of this process, and we're hoping that we'll be able to get out these sandblasting robots by the end of the year or early next year.
Wonderful.
That is
Wow.
interesting.
So my
That's really
background,
amazing.
my background is chemical engineering, and there are many unfortunate fatalities throughout the year because of entering vessels that aren't safe. So that you're addressing such an important need. I see Ava has said the same thing on the chat. Very cool robot with an unmet need for health and safety in industry. So well done.
Mhm.
Sorry, someone else had said something too. I can't see. Amber, did you see who had a comment?
Yeah. The Al has a question. Does the robot operate on G code similar to 3D printers, or is it a completely different method?
Well, one of my colleagues here, Lorne, is hopefully on the call. Oh, I see him at the Spence Corrosion office. So he will be able to answer a little bit more of the technical questions. So I might pass this over to Lorne.
Yeah, it would be essentially the Alpha Arm operates on a proprietary software package. So the graphic user interface that was demonstrated in the video, that's all part of the proprietary software package. So it's a little bit different than how you would operate a 3D printer.
Very cool.
So do you do any work with United Safety?
Not at this point, no.
If you'd like an introduction, I could provide it. We do a lot of work for them. Like
Oh, really?
we basically build their equipment and whatnot.
Okay,
So
that'd be great.
I think it would. You sound synergistic because they're doing a lot of these turnover revamp sites and that kind of stuff worldwide. By the way, they're into the Middle East quite heavily.
Yes.
The other question is, have you ever used dry ice in your sandblasting?
I believe we have used dry ice in our manual sandblasting. We haven't specifically used it with the robot yet, but there's no reason why we couldn't. The robot is essentially able to use any blasting media that we would normally use in a project.
I don't think this would be a market, but whenever they repaint aircraft, they sandblast it with the dry ice because
Right.
the dry ice won't hurt the aluminum.
Yes.
I think you can also see the question in the chat, which says, this is from Elaine, I believe, which says, are you interested in tapping into the ocean tech market in Atlantic Canada? If so, she can put you in touch with a woman at Dalhousie University who's connected to all the commercialization organizations in the Halifax Innovation District.
Yeah, speaking for Erin, I think we would be interested in running down some of those types of leads. There may be something there for us, there may not be something there for us, but it's certainly always that, that's really one of the jobs we have, is to, get the word out there, find different potential applications. We have a number of different applications that we're currently trying to work with, because there is so many unexplored avenues with this kind of technology.
So Erin, if you want to put the contact information that everyone should be sending these leads, and you've generated a lot of brainstorming here, so it's pretty exciting. Please feel free to put your contact information in the chat. There was other questions from the audience. I see Ava has one.
Hi, I really enjoyed seeing your presentation, and I'm just curious. My brother-in-law used to have, well, he passed away of cancer, and it was related to cleaning tanks. And he was in Ontario. So is this the sweet spot that you're focusing in the industry now, or do you see that expanding into other areas of chemicals and whatever? I don't know what tanks he was cleaning, but I remember he had to get inside the tank, spray the tank, and clean it. Look for
and it typically, so cleaning the tank can look like many different things. You can do a water jetting or this abrasive blasting, and there may be some chemical components. So that part is I'm not too sure of, but we are looking to work with confined space and get people out of confined spaces. So we're really open to, hence we're looking at quite a few developments of robotics and different robotics to help. And even something like in uranium mines, where it's not helpful for humans to be there, we can take robots and hopefully in the future, have autonomous robots driving in, doing an inspection, looking at what it needs to look at, so we can remove people from these types of situations. So that is absolutely what CSR is hoping to do, is really remove humans from any confined space. And right now the focus is with tanks, and we're starting with one problem, which is still quite a big problem. If this was an easy solution, it would have been done. And globally, I think people are trying to work on these solutions. So we're excited that we're leading it, and from this small shop from Leduc, Alberta, is helping make a global change is really exciting. So I guess to answer your question, yes.
Yes. Just wondering, would that extend to any part of the nuclear industry?
Nuclear.
Nuclear. Yeah, absolutely. Really, we are looking to put this in any space, whether it's in nuclear facilities or uranium mining.
I think Alan had a question as well. Alan?
Yeah. So is it your business model that your team actually goes in and runs the robots and looks after all the places that you're trying to do those things? Or do you actually sell the robots and do supportive technology to companies that actually do some of the work themselves?
A little bit of everything. So it's kind of open, we want to get this in the hands of everybody. So, our quote unquote competitors, people that are already, there's lots of people that do sandblasting. We hope to get these robots to every company that does sandblasting. So we have a few business models, but absolutely selling the robot, and then we could just be there to maintain. But as you saw from the video, it's very user friendly. It's like playing a video game. And I think what people are concerned about too is we'd be taking away jobs from the people doing the blasting. But really, a traditional crew is 3 people, and you still need 3 people to do this. The person that's inside the tank now gets to be the one doing the video game and pushing the button on the outside. So yes, we want to get these out to everybody that does blasting and coating. We can also lease, so it's like you can buy them, lease them. We can also come do it ourselves, and that's with the Spence Corrosion side. You can essentially just hire us, and we can take the robot and do it, or we can give it to other companies. So yes, we were open to we have all the avenues available. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to use this and get it.
Right. So the people that and the people that go out and that work with your robot arms and things like that, are they sort of like instrumentation people, or people I'm sort of trying to think of like what is it, the skills that these people do, and how transferable is that to people who might be doing that kind of work right now that maybe could be transition to being sort of the person that controls the robot and does all the like the scanning and all that other kind of stuff that fulfill on your requirements?
Yeah, we've kept it user friendly, so anybody can be trained. So that's the way we envision is there is a training process. So whether we come to the site, but our robotics engineers and technicians would come to your site or to the person's site, test people so that to make sure that they feel comfortable operating. But really this is meant to be for anyone to operate. So you don't need a computer programming background. You don't need to do any coding. Our vision is to essentially have like the McDonald's drop down menu and say, which tank are you doing? Pick the tank. It still needs to scan to make sure. I don't know if Lauren has anything else to add, but we're trying to keep this very user friendly. And then we would still be here as CSR on the background for any of the maintenance, ongoing things, if there's, programming or things. And plus every job will be needs to be a little bit customizable. So there will be, things where we might have to help for certain things or modify so that it works for a specific job, because really every tank, they're the same, but then different. So, but we're trying to keep it very user friendly. So really anyone can operate it. You do not need a special degree.
I see Frank has something to add.
Yeah, no, so Erin just kind of, she's kind of finished it off nicely there, but I do have one little thing to add. So just envision today at Spence Corrosion, you may have a human going into a vessel and doing the abrasive blasting. That same individual tomorrow could be outside of the vessel, manning and controlling a robot inside the tank. So what we've actually found, and we've actually put out into the market, is that robots actually don't eliminate jobs, because I kind of felt that undertone with Alan's question.
Oh,
no. They don't eliminate jobs. In fact, Spence and CSR has actually increased their headcount as a result of going down the robotics path. So that's pretty cool stuff too.
Let's talk about that, actually, your increased headcount, in that there's a lot of talent that comes to the Rainforest meeting. So if you can tell a little bit about any job openings, either now or in the future, that you may have, or as well as perhaps any tech collaboration opportunities if you're looking for partners. So I'm not sure, Frank or Erin, who's the best person to answer.
Well, in terms of, I'll jump in here. In terms of, hiring and whatnot, that's probably more of a Lauren question. On the Spence side, and I think Yusuf might also be on this call, our GM. But on the Spence side, we envision, like as the example I used for Alan, we envision, those people that may be going into tanks today being outside the tanks tomorrow. So. They'll stay at Spence in whatever capacity, and then of course we'll be adding people on the CSR side. But in terms of partnerships and whatnot, yes, we're exploring those avenues globally, in fact, and we've entered into some global competitions that could result in some partnerships with coding companies that are global, or that have a global footprint. So, but Erin, Lauren, Yusuf, you can add to that, I feel like.
Yeah, from a hiring perspective on the robotics side, we have a development group, and that development group really is, I think for some time will be growing. And it's a small group. Since I've been here, it's grown from 1 person up to 7 people. And that's in the space of less than a year. With the roadmap that we have to develop some new robotic applications and develop some actual new robots, I can easily see that we're going to need more people as we go forward. And those people tend to be, engineers or engineering technologist type people, because we're dealing with, a lot of electronics, robotics, mechanical engineering, these types of things all come together in these robots. So we do need some of that type of skill level. And also those people then become trainers for the people that would go into the field and operate the robots. And I might say that, the level of technical capability that you need to operate the robot, Erin's correct. We're trying to make the thing as user-friendly as we can. but there is still, you know, some technical aptitude that's required to, you know, model the environment before the robot goes in, and then properly set up the machine, troubleshoot it, and use it. So, you know, as we move forward, there will be some transition in the you know, the overall knowledgeability and technical aptitude of the workforce that's using these things will be a you know, a higher skilled crew in some respects.
Excellent. Elaine, I see you have a question. You want to ask it yourself? It's in the chat, but please feel free.
Yes, I was just wondering if you're planning to use virtual or augmented reality solutions for training, because I heard you say that you were going to use training and possibly to connect with remote workers. So anyway, I know of augmented reality solutions that are out of the box, can have you basically apps that can have you up and running in 2 or 3 weeks. Or, you know, if you need a customized solution, then that takes longer. But just wondering if you had considered that.
We are actually looking at one augmented reality solution that I know of, not specifically in relation to the blasting robot, but in relation to some other robotics that we're developing. But certainly in the robotics application, or in the blasting application, and in our future coding application, there's a need for simulating the environment and simulating the work of the robot before you ever press go with the actual robot. And so in the blasting graphic environment, there is a simulation utility, and we're going to be building a similar simulation utility into the coding robot. And you know, augmented reality obviously could easily have a place to play in that type of system.
Excellent. Neil has a question. Neil, do you want to ask it? It's in the chat.
Yeah, it's interesting that there have been a few robotics companies that are local that have been mentioned recently, like Copperstone and Robolution. So I was wondering, is there some sort of common resource that you're finding for getting your design help, or are you all sort of coming upon your robotics ideas independently?
I think it's independently, and what's common is that there's a demand in the industry for these things. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of people that are coming up with robotic solutions and automated solutions for different problems, but generally there's a demand in the industry to remove people from hazardous situations, whether it be crawling up the outside of a vessel or being inside of a tank, being in confined spaces, being in the proximity of hazardous environments, you know, explosive environments or chemical environments. All of those things are places where, you know, generally it's a good idea to get people away from them and send in a machine. So I think that's where what the commonality is we have a big industry that has that type of a common need.
And there are groups that are, you know, like there's a sprint robotics groups, or groups where people can kind of come together, like these rainforests, but specifically for robotics. And actually, I think it was Lauren or Frank, or I think it was Frank alluded to that. So we are in the top 2 finalists. It's called the CFM Challenge, which was a robotics challenge. And they're actually, sounds like, announcing the winner sometime this month. And so we're excited to see where we place, but we've already feel like we won because we're in the top 2. So it'll be exciting to have that. And one of the other robotics companies is out of Amsterdam. So it's a global competition. So it's very exciting that we've been recognized already this far. So hopefully we have more exciting news. But we're also excited to collaborate with the other company in the top 2. So we're hoping that we can bring their technology from Amsterdam to North America. So we're really open to taking the technology and getting it out there and partnering with other companies as well. So we really are open to collaboration and partnerships.
Very exciting. So on this global competition, can you tell us a little bit more about how you participated? Where in the past you would have to fly somewhere that was expensive. Was it more sending videos, or can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, and it was before my time, so I don't know if Lauren wants to talk about that.
Yeah, basically, we did it was a similar call to this. only we did a live demonstration of our blasting technology, where we essentially set up to introduce it, we had a scripted PowerPoint that answered the specific questions that the challenge had asked. It had a set of questions that we had to address in our solution, and how we were solving the problems that were being presented. And so we went through those, went through an introductory spiel, I guess you would call it, and then we did a little show and tell of all the robots, and then we actually had the robot drive into a tank on a set of tracks and do a demonstration blast all on live video.
It was nerve-wracking. I wasn't even there, but it was nerve-wracking to hear, to make sure everything ran perfectly.
Yeah, I think we had 20 minutes for the entire show. And so we had to script it out, and we had to practice it, and the robots had to behave themselves and do their job on cue. And it actually all worked out very well. We had a professional photographer following the robot around as it went in the vessel. So we had a very good live streaming video. It wasn't just off somebody's cell phone or something. And it was quite a process to actually set that up, and as opposed to just doing a live demo.
Well
and actually,
done.
Speaking of live demo, I did write it in the chat, but I wanted to make sure everyone knew. So the Global Energy Show is happening September 21st to 23rd, and Alpha One, the robot's going to be there. So if you want to come meet Alpha One in person, we will have that, as well as the Spence and CSR booths, so you can come talk to us more. So I'm sure as ideas percolate and people have more ideas, and if you want to come see one-on-one, but obviously also reach out to me. I did my LinkedIn and email as well. But yeah, we will be there in person with our robot. Hopefully, if everything stays as is with, how the world's looking every day.
Exactly. So exciting. Amber, I'm going to go over to you for our time check. And do we have time for more questions, or is it time for breakouts?
I think maybe we'll go in the breakout rooms. The conversation's so good, and let's just keep it going in the breakout rooms. But first, I want to say a special thank you to Erin and Lauren and Frank for being here and sharing. It's been really good. We could just sit here all day and talk about this. Like, I'm pumped. Like, very good. So yeah, let's go into the breakout rooms. I'm gonna do a whole choose your own adventure breakout rooms and see how that goes again, like last week. So yeah, you can choose your room, and yeah, here we go.
And then we'll come back for community announcements.
Yes, around 12:55. All right, back everyone. Thank you again to Erin and Lauren and Frank. So I know we have a few community announcements. I'm gonna start off super quick. We have an event coming up with Cybersecure Canada on September 14th from 3:30 to 4:30. I'll drop the link in the chat. Al, I don't know if you want to do a quick update about podcast.
Yes, please. The podcast is going strong. We just launched episode 134. I like to have enough hosts so that we can have lots of shows in the queue. And right now we have no shows in the queue. So it would be awesome if people want to do some hosting. It's a lot of fun. It's easy. And it'd be great to have you guys, join us, and it's a community podcast. So all of us interview all of us. So reach out if you have any questions or you'd like to be part of this.
Thanks, Al. I know Gail had a few announcements, or she said there was a few people that had some announcements that were excited to share. So I will open the floor up.
Right, Stephen. Stephen, did you have a story?
Thanks, I do. First of all, I want to say how much I appreciate Rainforest Alberta. I really enjoy these events and meeting the people here. And I am part of an organization that enables and empowers small businesses and startups to do their business easier, better, and to grow their business. There's somebody here, I'd like her to share this story, Val, about, well, I ran into her, I saw her software and was really impressed and thought this is a good tool for business management. So I introduced her and Kadosi to Grail. Val, can you take it over?
Oh, for sure. Rail has helped out Kudosi so much as a new startup. So what Kudosi actually is it illustrates corporate strategy breakdown and monitors performance, but it's all online. It's a SaaS company, of course, but it digitizes your business plans to a live and active format that anyone can use. So it's interactive, it's graphical, it's fully shareable. It's basically a strategic execution vision board. And yeah, the companies that have been using it, you can find us on kudosi.com. So that's Kudo, just like a kudo, and then the word C, S-E-E. So kudosi.com. Check us out. We're about to update our website for about the third or fourth time. So it's a little blah. We say it's blah, but check it out anyway. And there are some videos on there on how to use the platform that it was just me. I recorded myself on Zoom and said, hey, this is what you get, kind of thing, as a new startup. But no, Rail has definitely helped us out. It's its own little bit of an ecosystem, but it's essentially for small and medium businesses. The networking capabilities, the software that is involved in Rail. As a new startup, one needs a CRM, you need a inventory, you need accounting, you need all these different types of the computer software availability, and it has it all in one lump sum, which of course saves any new startup on their bottom line. And Kudosi is now highlighted in their marketplace, the Rail marketplace. And so Rail is spelled R-A-Y-L. And yeah, I can say more. I can go on for another whole half hour.
And Val, you had shared that information in the chat too.
I did, definitely. Yes, I did. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Val, for sharing that. All right, it is 1 o'clock. That is our time. I want to thank everyone so much for coming out today. It was an awesome session. Feel free to stay on and network, but thank you again. It is 1 o'clock, so if you have to leave, you are free. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Amber, for
Thank you.
Amazing time.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for bringing us on today. That was really awesome, and I got a lot of great insights from people, and I'm looking forward to, yes, and Gary, I'm going to follow up with you, or follow up with me. Send me an email, because I really I just love this community and that support system. So just wanted to say my thanks again.
That's super great to hear. We loved having you. It was so awesome.
Absolutely. Erin, I have never seen such an engaged audience. I think your personality combined with your technology and the company is an amazing fit. That it's a community all play. Let's celebrate your success and make your company and collaborations more successful.
Oh, well, thank you, Gail. That's really nice. It's nice to hear those positive feedbacks. Usually you only hear all of the constructive criticism. So that's great. So thank you.
Definitely our pleasure. You made our day.
Oh, good. Well, you guys made my day. So thank you so much. Okay, well, I'm going to head out now. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Nice to meet you. Bye.